All right, guys, we got a little story to talk about. LeBron James is disappointed as that they did not acquire more after learning the extent of the Isaiah Thomas. So what this article says here is that LeBron James preferred the Cavs to keep Kyrie Irving last season despite his trade request, and some sources say he was not impressed with how the front office handled its attempt to rework their deal with the Celtics after the severity of Isaiah Thomas' injury became more clear. It didn't just disappoint James as a basketball player, it disappointed him as a businessman.
First thing, how could it not?
Yeah.
Right? I think it disappoints everybody, not even just like Cavaliers fans, but anybody, right?
Yeah.
How could you not be disappointed with what they did in that trade? Secondly, when is LeBron not disappointed with something regarding the Cavaliers organization?
Yeah.
And thirdly, I mean, what did he expect, right? Is my big question. I think like the Bledsoe, and then who was the other guy? Oh, they wanted Paul George. He wanted Paul George and
Bledsoe, Paul George. I mean, DeAndre Jordan was probably not till later, but still.
I think those were the two guys.
Two guys, Eric Bledsoe and Paul George, yeah.
But I agree. I mean, I think like the farther we get away from it, we've discussed how bad the trade is.
Yeah.
But just look at the Aldridge situation with the Spurs, right? Mm-hmm. All they had to do was have Popovich sit down and have a conversation with him.
Right.
You don't even necessarily need to do that. You own the man's contract in the NBA, right? That is Kyrie.
Yeah.
Just tell him it doesn't matter. Tough luck. You're playing for us.
Yeah, pretty much.
And if you don't want to play for us, you're probably not going to get that much money other places because that doesn't look good as an employee.
Yeah.
Which, when it boils down to it, that's what these guys are. They're employed by NBA teams. If you don't want to play, you're probably not going to get a gigantic contract in other places, right? So make the guy play. That's what they should have done.
Yeah, I think you're right. What they should have done with Kyrie is just say, hey, look, you're only here for a couple more seasons. Just play with us at least one more. Let us try to get to the championship, try to win it again. And if not, we go our separate ways. We trade you. And
not only that, LeBron was only under contract for one more year. If the big thing, which a lot of people say, is that he didn't want to play with LeBron, just say it's one more year. I'm pretty sure the Cavaliers, in retrospect, maybe not. They might just be the dumbest organization known to man, other than my New York Knicks, which are worse. But how would you not pick Kyrie long-term over LeBron James?
Yeah.
Anybody would. So just play with LeBron one more year and we won't re-sign him.
Yeah,
We'd rather have you.
I think the thing with him, though, is that he thought that the Cavs, or like no one knew what LeBron's plans are after this season.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, there's numerous teams that are in contention, especially the top four, which are, of course, the Cavs, Lakers, Philly, and Houston. Those are the four top contenders. At least that's what's been reported. But, Kyrie wasn't sure what he was going to do, that being LeBron James. So he was like, you know what? I'm just going to take care of my own future.
Yeah.
And like I said, become Nightwing and just
go out and do my own thing.
Go out and do my own thing, become the man in Boston. But I agree with you, though. I think he should have waited another year and then probably get a trade. Obviously, the Cavs... to me, it's funny, though. Like, the trade that they just made with the Celtics is a trade that I would expect someone in their final year of their contract. Not in their, second year where they have 2 years left.
Or if Kyrie was the one who's hurt, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a trade you make. Like, if Kyrie is the guy who's hurt, like Isaiah Thomas was, but he has the pedigree of being Kyrie...
Yeah.
You trade him, an injured Kyrie, for a healthy Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder. That trade makes much more sense.
Yeah.
But what's his name? What's his first name? Griffin. David Griffin?
Yeah, David Griffin.
He was on the Low Post podcast recently, and did you listen to that?
I listened to some of it, not all of it.
Well, he talked about the whole weeks leading up to his not being re-signed with the Cavaliers, which I honestly think even more so than Kyrie. I think that was a gigantic mistake, because I really do think, and based on what he said, they could have figured something out with Kyrie if they had kept him. And he even said in this podcast, in this interview with Zach Lowe, that one of the first guys who called him to figure out what was going on was Kyrie Irving. Yeah. And he's like, are you coming back? Like, I want to know if you're coming back based on my situation, and because he liked him, right? He liked David Griffin. That just goes to show the Cavaliers' gigantic mistake in a nutshell, right? Yeah. They lost a really good GM in my opinion, and they lost Kyrie Irving based on just this weird decision not to re-sign him.
Yeah, to me, like, even LeBron pointed it out that he was very upset that David Griffin didn't come back. And he was, he's a master trader. I mean, we've seen some of his work before, and he's done a lot of great things. But, Dan Gilbert and LeBron James's beef, I think, carried over into this kind of, all right, well, I'm not really interested anymore after I won my title. I just, let's get rid of everybody. I don't want to keep Kyrie. Like we talked about before, he doesn't want to pay over the luxury tax for very long. So he's going to be making some moves pretty soon. And, we could be seeing some of the pieces. I mean, we saw some of LeBron's friends go. We saw Dwayne Wade go.
Yeah. D.
Rose went. I mean, there's just a lot of pieces that went away. And LeBron has to have this new core of guys, which, of course, they're 6-6 in their last 12 games. So it's not good. It's not bad. They're just stuck in the middle with not really any direction until either LeBron goes or he leaves.
And we had the soup incident with J.R. Smith. I mean, it's just a mess. They have no idea what they're doing. As an organization, it's all muddled up.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm still in the camp that when it comes to playoff time, LeBron James is going to go to superhuman mode, and they're going to be in the finals. Like, that's just the way I feel about it. But that isn't good enough, really.
No.
Like, based on how much money you're spending, the team that you've tried to build and the purpose behind building it, just making it to the finals on the shoulders of a 15-year veteran in the NBA is that really where you want to be as an organization?
Yeah. And I mean, there was another blunder too where even, we talked about the DeAndre Jordan trade would have been better, would have been a bit worse to do it. LeBron James came out and said that he would have loved DeAndre Jordan on this team.
I mean, based on what the Clippers seem to be asking, I would agree with not making that trade. Like, don't give up the Brooklyn pick for DeAndre Jordan. That's just poor business. So if LeBron was thinking that is actually a good trade, I'd be a little disappointed in his business ethic, right? Because that's not a good trade for the organization. But I see his point. I don't think DeAndre Jordan would have made a difference, and as much as they would have had to give to get him, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I mean, just to think about what this whole thing boils down to is just LeBron James is upset with the Cavs organization. It all stems from Dan Gilbert and him having this beef ever since he left the first time to Miami. And I think the hurtfulness and the letter, it all still hurts LeBron and also still hurts Dan Gilbert because he wanted to keep LeBron there to build a franchise team around him. And obviously it wasn't going to work out there, and he went to Miami. And this beef will still probably live on until they're both...
forever.
The
one thing I always think about with this is the 30 for 30, 5 to 10 years down the road of the Dan Gilbert versus LeBron feud is going to be just a masterpiece.
Yeah.
There's so much story there. It's going to be wonderful. I can't wait until it's all said and done. Just to hear, like if they really hate each other so much, there's got to have been, like, some epic arguments,
Yeah.
I need it. I need that 30 for 30.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when some of the front... I mean, when David Griffin's probably, a little bit down the way, I want to hear what the conversations between Dan Gilbert and LeBron James are. Obviously, those two, according to the media, don't speak to each other as much. But when they do speak to each other, I want to know what is said between those two.
Like, if LeBron is like... I could see him not being, like, a screaming person. Like, I could see that. Like, he's more just, like, quiet. Like, he's like, that's bullshit. And then he just walks out of the room.
Just walks out, yeah.
I could see him doing something like that. But I don't know much about Dan Gilbert, like, business-wise, right? He's got to be he's probably, like, a cutthroat businessman.
Yeah.
Right? To be as, like, have all the, his hands in all those different pots that he has. Yeah. You've got to be like that, right? But I'm very interested to hear more about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's going to do it for that conversation. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Dan Gilbert's in the right? Do you think LeBron's in the right? And if you were in LeBron's shoes as the GM, would you make the trades that you made? Or would you go with a different route and go DeAndre Jordan? Let us know in the comments down below.
Yes.